On today's show, I talked to Patrick Aaron from Total Comfort Heating and Air, and he will explain in simple terms everything that you need to know about geothermal heat pumps. Your clients will think you're a genius. Let's go. Today we have Patrick Aaron from Total Comfort and Heating.
Yeah, so Total Comfort's a family owned and operated business. My parents started about 25 years ago. We've been doing geothermal for 25 years and really have never looked back.
Wow, we're going to dive in. We're going to talk so much about geothermal. I think as real estate agents, a lot of people don't know, even if they saw a geothermal, what the heck am I looking at?
Right.
They're really confused about that.
Right.
So I thought we'd shed a little light on that today and talk about it. Is there anything that a real estate agent should know about geothermal and HVAC systems and just in general?
I think it's good for them to have a knowledge. Obviously it's good to have a knowledge, both for their potential client to present that, hey, this is more than just an oil furnace. This is more than, these homeowners are saving thousands of dollars a year, which could potentially be passed on to a new homeowner. Plus, I think, the ability to speak intelligently about all systems in a house, obviously would be beneficial for a realtor.
Yeah, I was going to say absolutely. Right on those lines is really what this channel and what we try to do here is give you some tools so you show your expertise really to your clients so they understand, oh, you actually know the difference between an oil furnace and a geothermal.
Mm-hmm.
And you know the difference between a heat pump and a mini split system. You don't have to be an expert at it. Hey, speaking of which was really funny, Patrick. Remember that house I just told you I had a geothermal in, right?
Yep.
So I sold that house and moved into my current home. The buyer's agent called me in a panic.
Mm-hmm.
He was so freaked out. He said, "What happened? Somebody stole the heat pump from outside." He said, "You have somebody better put that back. You're going to have to replace it." I could hardly get a word in edgewise. This guy was so excited about it.
I got a funny story about that too. So this wasn't even from a realtor or from a homeowner, it was an inspector. And he looks over at our technician and he goes, "Everything looks great. I'm not even going to inspect the outdoor unit." And my technician looks at him and he goes, "Well, that's a good thing because there isn't one." And the inspector says, "Oh, okay, see ya." But there is a lack of knowledge. So I think what we've kind of gotten better at and learned to do over time is to speak on it on more layman's terms.
I think we're perfect segue when we talk about what is a geothermal. How does it work?
The best way to describe it is it's a ground source heat pump. But really all you're doing is you're capturing the temperature of the earth, which typically in our area is in the 53 to 55 degree range, and you're heating or cooling with it. So on a cold winter day like we have here today, where it's 32 degrees, we're bringing 53 degree water in, and we're heating our house with that, as opposed to a combustion furnace where we're burning fossil fuel and losing it out of a vent or a flue pipe. Or with a heat pump, we're converting 32 degree outdoor temperature to 70, 72 degrees inside our house. So it's so much more efficient because the temperature delta is so much smaller.
It's really kind of just taking the heat that's in the ground, which is at that 54, 53 degrees, something around there.
That range, yep.
And changing that. Could you imagine, because like a cold winter day, it's freezing outside. You got that heat pump outside. It's working. It's taking that, 15, 20 degree temperature, and it's got to bring that all the way up to your house temperature of 70 degrees.
Yep.
But now if you start with the ground temperature, you're already starting at a great point. Mm-hmm. So now you only have to heat it up from 50 up to your 70, 72 degrees, however you keep your house.
Yep.
So automatically that's going to save your pump's going to work a lot.
And you flip-flop that around during the summertime. If it's 90 degrees outside and now all of a sudden we're cooling our house with 53 degrees, how hard do you think that is?
What are the advantages of a geothermal?
Well, we already touched on one of the advantages when we talked about that outdoor unit, no outdoor unit.
Mm-hmm.
So not having an outdoor unit is an advantage for multiple reasons. One, you always have the complaint, that outdoor unit is right by my master bedroom. My wife can't sleep at night. You have that. I have the customer that, this outdoor unit's right by my patio. That's where my wife and I sit and have our red wine every Thursday, and we got to listen to that outdoor unit. So now no outdoor unit is a benefit. Plus it's out of the elements, so if it snows on a heat pump, Someone's got to go out there and clean that heat pump off.
Yeah.
Geothermal, yeah, you're snow on there. I don't care. Obviously, energy efficiency is the reason a lot of people go towards it. It's going to cut down on your carbon emissions. It's going to cost you less because you're using less electricity. Comfort, the comfort's going to be unmatched. So if we go back to that same converting ground temperature, once again, if you're converting 17-degree outdoor to 70 degrees in your house, how warm do you think that air is? Whereas with the geothermal system, nice consistent temperature, so comfort, efficiency, no outdoor unit, kind of all those things together. And most people look at it at the end of the day, they want to do something that's environmentally friendly or environmentally right, but it's got to make sense financially. So that's where the energy efficiency and the return on investment come into play.
One of the things that you and I talked about in the installation of my system is that we could have a separate thermostat control in every room. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so zoning, so a lot of people, it blows their mind when I'm like, you can have up to 5 thermostats, 5 zones off of one geothermal system, which basically means if you wanted to have just your kids' bedroom as a zone, the master bedroom a zone, the main living room a zone, and then your man cave in the basement, they could all be individually zoned, individually comfort controlled. And I think most people don't realize you can do that really with any type of forced air system. But with geothermal, you can have even more zones than you can with a traditional heat pump or gas furnace. So a couple of different ways you can heat hot water. So as far as like just domestic hot water for showering, water in the house, dishes, so on. There's a feature what they call a desuperheater, which basically is a supplemental hot water that is a byproduct of conditioning your house. So every time you're heating and cooling your house, there's excess heat that's being rejected. You can use that excess heat to heat your hot water. So on average for a family of 4, that could be $200 to $300 a year in hot water savings.
But this is actually preheating all that water. So it's actually coming in the system itself, just because it's naturally running, it heats it up to, I guess it's about how much is it? Like 80, 85?
Oh man, it can do it all the way up to 120. On a hot summer day when we're rejecting all that heat back into the ground. I've had homeowners that literally didn't know an element went bad in their water heater because the geothermal system's been keeping their hot water warm for days.
Right. So your hot water heater is not even running. So you're saving, and there's a ton of energy wasted just from hot water. And you're not even paying for hot water. From a customer's perspective, and they want to sell their home, does this geothermal add value?
I think absolutely. I mean, you can probably answer this, as well as me. But I've talked to realtors, whether it's friends or, I've done various open houses over the years for houses that have geothermal that we put in. What I've always been told, and you might be able to echo this story, is that if you have 2 houses, we'll go back once again to that 1,500 square foot rancher. If one has an oil furnace and the other one that has geothermal, everything else about that house is very, very similar. That geothermal house is going to sell much, much quicker.
Yeah, it does. It adds that value to it. And that's why it's important to check with your appraiser, because appraisers need to be understand and trained in efficient homes. If you look at the appraisal form, there's actually a line on there that says energy efficient credit that they're going to allow an amount for. Most appraisers leave that blank, regardless of solar panels, geothermals, or wind, or whatever you got going on in there. Even efficient appliances, they will leave that blank. However, if they're trained and they know it well enough, they can and should give you an incentive, because you don't think it's a value to save $3,000 or $4,000 a year. Right. That's absolutely a value on that property. So make sure you check with your appraiser to find out if they are certified and understand what those efficiencies mean for the value of the home.
Absolutely.
And if you want to learn more about appraisals, we are going to do a section on appraisals. Leave me a comment below and let me know if you want to learn more about appraisals. We'll dive into that as well. And don't forget to subscribe to this if you're getting some value out of this session. How's an agent going to walk into a room and recognize one?
The first thing, the giveaway from the outside is there's no outdoor unit. Okay. So if you come in, now obviously you can go into a house and it might have a gas furnace with no AC or no heat pump. It's gonna look, probably more like almost more appliance-like. And you're probably gonna see some big lines that look like they're coming through the basement wall, tied into some pumps. So, I mean, it's still going to look very similar to an air handler or a furnace, but just unlike something you've probably seen as far as it's not going to have any vent pipes coming off of it for a flue or anything like that. But there's water lines coming from the outside, and the pumps are typically going to be your giveaway.
What's the layman's way for an agent to say something to a client? What can they say?
It is a heat pump that heats and cools your house with the ground's temperature. Most efficient way you can heat and cool a house.
Love it. Keep it simple.
The first thing I would do, honestly, I would give that client a high five and say, we just found the jackpot. This house has geothermal. If you like everything else about it, where do I sign?
Exactly. I love it. Jackpot. You hit something that's going to save you guys some money. It's awesome. Is there anything else, any other little nuggets you think we can throw out there for our agents and customers, anybody that might happen to run across this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with the geothermal is don't be afraid of it. I get phone calls from realtors all the time, that, hey, I'm really looking to sell this house, or my client's interested in buying this house. I see the Total Comfort sticker on there. You guys installed this 15 years ago. It scares the heck out of my client. What can you say to ease their mind? I'm like, look, that system has a fantastic warranty. That ground loop is your own private utility that's going to be there for the rest of our lifetime. It's the best, most efficient, most comfortable way to heat and cool. It's a heat pump, which is environmentally safe. Best way to do it. Best way to heat and cool.
I don't need to sum it up any more than that. Hey, Patrick, if somebody wants to get a hold of you or Total Comfort, what's the best way of reaching you?
Yeah, I mean, so our website will probably be the best way. It's just asktotalcomfort.com, where you can always give me a call. Number's 301-745-3700. If you want to get right to me, come to extension 205.
All right, perfect. And that'll wrap up today. I'll put all those links down in the show notes. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Convo with Doug O. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought. With that, we're out of here. Thanks again, Patrick.
Yep, thank you. Take care.
I've put together this list of more convos covering things that you may not know about, but probably should. Go ahead and click it. Go ahead, it's right there. Check it out.